What's going on? What's going on? Danny McKinney here. This is our first episode of the Real Estate Wealth Builders podcast. I'm your host, Danny McKinney. All right, we're back. So let's talk about monetizing the equity in your property. I have a lot of clients, investors, friends that come to me and say, "Hey, Danny, man, I'm looking good, man. I've paid off my property, I paid off my home, and man, I'm sitting on a bunch of equity. I'm sitting on, two, three, $400,000, $500,000 in equity, and quite frankly, I feel good about myself." And then typically, my question back to them would be, "Well, how much money is your equity making you?" And a lot of times they will say, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, I mean, is your equity in your home making you a lot of money?" And a lot of times they will say, "No, it's just sitting there." Like, well, that's the point. Why is it just sitting there? If you're not monetizing the equity in your property, then you're not making the best use of the money that you put into your property. So I always suggest to them, you need to take out some of that money, equity loan or equity line of credit, cash out refi, and put that money into something that's going to pay you a monthly income or pay you a dividend or pay you some type of return for the equity that you into your property. Now, if you've grown equity in your property over time, you paid it off, you invested in it, you made monthly payments to pay it off, and now you've grown that property where you have an amount of money that you can take out and invest it into something that's going to pay you monthly. It's definitely a win-win situation, and I advise people on how to do that. And one of the vehicles that I advise people on is becoming a private lender. Okay. So what is a private lender? Well, private lenders, individuals like yourself who have investment capital, and investment capital being money that you've put aside or you've put into a vehicle that you are expecting a nice return for the use of your money, whether it's putting it in a bank and getting, 5% on a CD, or of course, if you put it into a regular checking or savings account, you're going to get less than 1%. So that's not a good return on your money. So if you have money in a bank sitting in a checking account, you're like, "Oh man, I got hundreds of thousands sitting there." You're not making any money on that money. So you should be utilizing it. And one vehicle would be becoming a private lender. So you put it into, to be a private lender, basically, you are the individual. You work with real estate professionals, like, and I always use the term Ricky Rehabber. And Ricky Rehabber, uh, who's flipped many of properties, comes to you and say, "Hey, I want you to be a private lender on my particular deal. I need $100,000 to purchase this property, and I need 25 to fix it up. And when I sell it, I'm going to flip it in 2, 3, 4 months. And when I get through, I'm going to pay you off, and I'm going to pay you whatever interest rate that you want to pay, that you want to charge." In most cases, as a private lender, you can charge anywhere between 10 to 15%. So you can work that out with Ricky Rehabber and say, "Look, I'll loan you the money to purchase a property and give you the money for the 25K for the rehab, but I want 10% interest for the use of my money for those 3, 4 months that you're going to use it. On top of that, you can also suggest that you want some of the profits from the sale. So if Ricky Rehabber is going to make, say, $40,000 in profit for flipping their property once they rehab it, you can say, "Ricky, I want 10% of the profit." So that's an additional 4,000. Well, now you've turned your 10% return on your money into maybe 15, 20% for the use of your money. Now that's far more better than what most stocks are returning, crypto, CDs, annuities, things of that nature. And the great thing about it is you have control. Another thing is secure, because you get a deed or you get a mortgage secured against the property. So in the event that something happens, you're able to take the property back. Another thing is it's predictable because you know every month for the time he's going to use that money for 4 months, or 5 months, if it turns to 6 months, you're going to get a nice return at 10%, 12%, whatever you charge for the use of your money. And in most cases, if I'm doing private lending for someone, they're going to have to pay me at least a minimum of 6 months because most rehabbers, they can go in, buy the property 2 months, fix it up, and then another 2 months sell it. A lot of times they already have the exit strategy. They already have someone who's going to buy the property before they even start rehabbing the property. So that's a great thing. And if you have that, that's a good investment. If you have an experienced investor who's flipping properties and say, hey, man, I already got someone who wants to buy it as soon as I finish it. I have a network of people that want to buy my properties. That's a good investor to work with because you can do that with them a couple of times a year and then turn your investment into, 20, 30, 40% return on your money. So monetizing the equity that you have in your property is definitely a way to go and a way to get the best use for that money that's just sitting dormant in your property. And as a real estate investor or an investment strategy that that allows you to get into real estate, it's passive. So once you do it, you set it up. Of course, close through a title company. You get an appraisal. You do your due diligence, but you definitely want to invest in something like that so that your money is making money for you. So I would advise, if you have that, if you have money sitting in your property, equity, monetize it. And one way to pull it out is through home cash out refinance or a home equity loan. Um, those are some of the ways, or what we call a HELOC. Those are some of the ways that you can pull that equity out, put it to use, invest it in something that's going to pay you a monthly income and affords you the best return for the use of the money that you've built up in your property. I have a course, which is called the Private Lending Profits course, which is a profit system, which I teach you how to be a private lender. It also teaches you how to find funds so that you can be a private lender, whether it's partnering with people or obtaining private loans where you can make the spread, and different ways that you can do that. So if you go to privatelendingprofitstraining.com, I have a free training there and also a way that you can get in on the course at this point in time and also get a discount for doing so. So anyway, that's it for today on the podcast about monetizing equity that you have in your home. If it's sitting there, guys, it's not doing you any justice. You need to make sure that you're able to put it into a vehicle such as private lending that's going to pay you some type of dividend, pay you some type of income on a monthly basis. That way you're growing your financial and growing your wealth. Signing off for the Real Estate Wealth Builders, I'm Danny McKinney, your host. Talk to you soon. Make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel at DannyMcKinney.tv. I can also be reached at DannyMcKinney.com. You can also reach me at the Real Estate Wealth Builders group on Facebook. Talk to you soon.